Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Saturday, October 13th. Just started to read through some comments, and I got one that really made me chuckle. Wonderful comment from a Christian. So I made this video called Rock Bottom. And it was a long voiceover video specifically about how, I'm pretty clear that humanity, even the people who are spiritually oriented, won't really get going until they've hit rock bottom. As long as there's distractions and choices, and if you can, I knew this as a homesteader and a farmer as well. It's hard to commit to homesteading and doing all the things you need to do, the hard work, when you can just run to Walmart or run to Costco or whatever the grocery store. I mean, it's so much easier to do that. And very few people can go full in and be self-sufficient because you don't have to, and it's way fucking too hard. And without a community, you really can't ever do that. You need a community of people working together, because you can't grow all the food and make all the clothing and do all the things you need in a world the way it used to be if you don't have other people there. And that's where, economies grew and towns grew and villages and tribes and things. That's why you see very few independent people living on their own and surviving. People need other people. And so, for the same way, as long as we have all these things, why do we need God, right? Why do people need God? Wait, when you get cancer or when you get, whatever you might get. And so my point in the video is that before people are ready to embrace God and really think about it, some people will dabble in it, like myself and other people. But until there's rock bottom and the society bottoms out, and, all the bad habits, all the things that you go through. You guys, those of you who watch the video know what I'm talking about. But then there was a newbie that came in there. This person is a Christian. You pointed to God at the end, but made no mention of the way to him, which is Jesus. I find that interesting. So you're already fucked. You're already fucked in this comment, because you don't know anything about Jesus, right? You know the Christian version of Jesus they've given you, and you know nothing about how to get to God, right? And so, so from this standpoint, when somebody thinks they know something because they're speaking from their indoctrination, they're already fucked, because they're coming across like they know more than you. But they can't, because they haven't done what Jesus did, which I think I mentioned in the video, and I've talked about this in many videos, which is to move away from your religion, graduate from your religion, and move into being a spiritual person, which I talked about specifically in this video, I think. I answered some comments. I think it's the very next video after that one. It's not really all that important. But, I've talked about this quite a bit. So you pointed out with God at the end, but Nano mentioned the way to him, which is Jesus. I find that interesting, in quotes. This is the first video I've ever watched of yours, and I was left with feeling of what was the point. You mostly illustrated truths, but you have zero positivity in you. Well, I am positive. I'm positive that people will survive this nightmare that's coming, right? I'm positive you can find divinity within you. These are all good things. I have a positive outlook, but I'm realistic about the inevitable collapse of our system. Like, you think that's negative because you're not a real godly person, because you only think God will do good things, or things that you think are good. And that if you're right with God, that God will bless you in a way. God will watch out over you if you're doing God's work, but you're still going to die. And America's still going to collapse at some point. And this world will some point in the future will have no people on it. And that's certainly not a tragedy. And no life at all. And no life in the biological sense, but there'll be spiritual life on there, like there are in other plants. And so, you have a limited view. Or just, an indoctrinated view. You mostly illustrate truths, but have zero positivity in you. You come off as sageful. Do I? Well, that's a misreading. You come off as sageful and world-weary and kind of foolish. I mean, if you're born again, what's with all the F-word stuff? I'm not born again. What are you talking about, bro? This is not... maybe you should watch some other videos, and, you don't understand what I'm saying. It's fine. That's no crime. Whatever. But, why comment when you don't know what the fuck's going on? I mean, if you're born again, what's with all the F word stuff? And you didn't encourage anyone of the benefit of getting right with God, just as some will when they hit rock bottom. What I was talking about is the same thing Jesus struggled with, and every other spiritual person has ever struggled with them within themselves and then with other people. But when there are spiritual movements, nobody wants to be around them, and that would be you as well, because there's real spiritual movements now, but you're still doing a dead religion that's been dead for 2,000 years, that no longer has any life in it. I mean, people still connect to God through it in some different ways, but it's so limited. And people who are doing religions, billions of people are doing religions, but they can't do spirituality, which is connect to divinity within them. And they can't work with God and have a relationship with God. And if they were around when Jesus was around, or Muhammad was around, or any number of saints, or Krishna and any of these people, these divine beings were around, they wouldn't be able to see them and wouldn't be able to do it. They have to do it only when it gets watered down, and it's, this is what I'm saying in my video. And so if they have a choice, they won't do it. Some people don't have the capacity, which is fine, because if you don't have the capacity, you're not blamed, but you can work at it still. But people who, are desperate and miserable and at their wits' end will run to God for a few minutes to get some, from relief for a couple of days or a month. And then when the cancer clears up and their wife comes back to them or whatever happens, and then they're just back at it. They're back at the bottle. They're back at the gambling. They're back at the, womanizer, whatever it might be. So there's a legitimate point here that if you had any sort of spiritual maturity, you would know that people just won't fucking do it, even if it's just right there in front of them, because everyone has God in them. Anybody can connect to God. Anybody can do this. But they don't. They choose not to. We all choose not to. We have a soul. I mean, even if you're not aware of it, you're an atheist. You still have a soul, and you can connect with your soul at any time. You could ask your soul what to do. You could ask God what to do. You had conversations with God. You could pray to God and say, please show me what to do. I mean, not just because you're in trouble, but just like, what should I do with my life? What should I do here? Well, I have some extra money. What should I do with that extra money? How many people have had some extra money would go to God and say, what should I do with this extra money, God? Because they wouldn't want God's answer. They know what he's going to say, right? They know it's not going to be what they would want to do with it. And so, it's a legitimate point I'm making here, just from, not just lifetimes of experience of this thing. And so, I mean, if you're born again, what's with all the F-word stuff? And you didn't even encourage anyone of the benefit of getting right with God, just that some will when they hit rock bottom. That's a statement of fact, not an encouragement. No, did you think I'm encouraging motherfuckers? Does it say pockets full of encouragement? Pockets of the encouragement? There's like, you want encouragement, then fine, go find it from somebody else, right? Again, is that what you need, is encouragement? Because no one else is going to help you make this decision. You can make it on your own. You've chosen not to. That's a statement of fact, not of encouragement. Anyway, I kind of feel like I just wasted my time on a double agent. But on the off chance you're not, you could really use a kick to the rear. You could really use a kick to the rear and clean up your act before monologuing philosophically about not much that is useful. A kick to your rear. That's what made me do the comment right away. Anyways, kick to the rear. So there's a cap to every religion. Every spiritual practice has a peak to it. Like, it can offer something. Like, there's a higher level. And Christians think they're getting heaven, but they're not. Like, it doesn't have the ability for liberation. If you're a Christian, you connect to God in such a way that you make it to the point where you're liberated from future births on planet Earth, future lives. That's something that's, and I talk about my, philosophy there. I think in this video, I guess that's in a different one. I'm not sure. That was in a voiceover recently. I talked about the yatra points. But in terms of, like, this is what I believe, this is what, the teachings of my system, which is a much more sophisticated and comprehensive knowledge-based system about spirituality. But every system has a method. In Christianity, you don't have a method. You accept Jesus as your Savior. And so it's limited. It just is. Not because I say it is, because it's limited, because you're not doing what Jesus did, which was Jesus meditated, and he did other things to connect to divinity, but meditation was the number one thing. And he realized the kingdom of heaven is within, but they have basically downplayed that teaching in Christianity and kept it away from you, and they are giving you false stuff. So, I know that. And I know it because I know your system and I understand how it works. And you can't see it that way, so you're going to always be limited, which is fine, but you don't have to come here, right? This is not for people who are indoctrinated with their Christian beliefs and can't see through their own problems with it. And maybe it is, because there's some Christians here that, like the other things that I say, and we disagree on this other thing. That's fine too. But you're not going to be able to see my thing because you are not acknowledging the limitations of yours. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Okay, still Saturday, October 18th. I'm going to put some more comment things at the end of the video. I have one at the beginning where someone says I need a good kick in the keister. Good kick in the bottom. So, I have a bunch of comments that people ask questions about spirituality. But I have this comment, I think. That's not it. So, somebody wrote this comment. Paul, you are becoming tedious, right? Now, maybe that's true. I don't know. That's not for me to say, right? Tedious is what somebody else would experience. But this video, this is to the rock bottom video, which I got. Well, this is another comment. This channel is an oasis in a burning desert. Thanks for the relief, brother. I got more complimentary comments to this video than any other. But the comment I read earlier where the person says I need a kick in the keister. And then somebody else said, I hyped the fuck out of this video. And I got more people saying they hyped the video, so it must have been something where, they don't put the hype button on every video. But so many people hyped this one. I think 20 people, you could probably go through and count in the comments. But comment after comment, people are saying they hyped the video. And so people loved it. And so you're saying that I'm tedious is your experience. It has nothing to do with these other people, right? If everybody said I was tedious, then it'd be different. Then it would be like, oh, I'm probably tedious. It's not for me to say, right? But if people love the video and all these people are saying how great it is, and one person says I need a kick in the keister, and the other person says that I'm tedious, well, then who's the people that are wrong, right? It's your experience. It should be that you think I'm tedious. And there's a simple answer for it. Turn the fucking video off and go somewhere else. Why should I have to tell you that, right? But anyways, I'll cover some more comments tomorrow. And, when I'm more fresh. Actually, that's not true. I'm going to read one more comment here. Because this was the very next comment to when I stopped talking, so I could include this. Back in 2019, I used to listen to other truthers. But I didn't know why I was uneasy or I felt something wrong. I felt like if I was angry after listening to their videos, but I found your channel. I felt something different. I didn't know what it was, but continue to listen now. I understand what that was, and this channel is my engine for life and work. I spend 10 hours in front of the computer. Your videos help me a lot. They're a must in my life. Even when I walk my dog at night, I have really bad arguments with narcissistic wife, which leads for a couple of days which leads for a couple of days of chaos. But I know I've been there, bro. Not my wife now, but my ex. But your videos will help me tremendously. I thank you enough for all of the hard work you do. My previous marriage was a fucking nightmare. I just want to say that nobody can really evaluate their own work and how it affects other people. And there are people who put out fucking masterpieces in their life, and they weren't appreciated to years after. There's this guy, guys might have heard of him. He was an English guy. He made his own music with, I don't think he had a band. He was sort of a kind of acoustic guitar kind of stuff. And his music was used in a few movies. And he had this album that nobody knew about, and it was rediscovered. and he was dead. He died at a young age. And I don't need 100 people to say the guy's name because I don't remember what it is. But he had a very melodic way of speaking, singing. I used to listen to his music. But there's people like that all the time, and you can't evaluate your own work. In the Sajmark system, where we're transmitting, as preceptors, and a spiritual person who's got some spiritual energy to share with people, some people don't see it or feel it and don't get it, right? And so it's up to the receptiveness of their audience. In the Sajmark system, Babaji used to always say, it's easy to find a spiritual master, but it's hard to find a good disciple. And so there's those kind of things as well. Not that I'm saying anything about myself, because that's not, I'm just saying in terms of my content, I don't know if it's good or not. I don't know if it helps people or not. When you transmit as a preceptor, you have the idea of the divine master, the divinity within you, God, is transmitting, and you flip a switch, and the transmission either comes out or not. Divine grace is either there or it's not. Like, you just have to have faith in it. Sometimes you're waiting for the great pumpkin. I make that video clip where I mock the cubies because of the great pumpkin. But, in terms of whether this channel has anything to offer people, like, I don't know. People say it does, right? Like, I think it does. Like, when I watch some of the videos, I feel a transmission, I feel the energy, it has a nice positive effect for me, but I'm not a fan. I don't watch this content myself. I'm not I don't listen to myself going, wow, this guy's great, If anything, I find myself tedious. So, and so, there's all of that stuff, right? But, like, it's for people to say, like, it's not for you then. Like, either things are there or they're not, that somebody benefits from. The flower doesn't look in the mirror, the narcissus flower, right? The narcissist. The flower doesn't look in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful. You shouldn't look in the mirror and say you're beautiful or whatever you are, right? It's for someone else to admire your beauty, right? It's for someone else to see you as beautiful, right? It's not for you. Like I say, there's no such thing as self-love. There's no such thing as somebody loving themselves, right? Love is to be given to other people. Master Charger used to talk about rivers, that we have to be a river. A river lets the water flow through it, right? The river bank, it doesn't retain the water, but it's always replenished. More water's coming in. Even if it dries up for a bit, more water will flow through. They have these things in New Mexico called auroros or something, auroros, whatever. You could look it up. I don't need to know. Don't care. Don't tell me. Don't care. I don't need to know. Whatever I used to say. But these are dry riverbeds that exist outside, down the mountains. And when rain would pour down, they would flow through. The water would flow through. Not that much because it's in the desert, high desert. You'll have these things all over the Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, other places. And you have creek beds and things dry up and the water flows through again. But there's always enough water. You don't worry about losing the water. And that's what you're supposed to do with love. Love is supposed to flow through you. It's not something you retain for yourself. That's the transmission of the Sajmark system. You let the energy flow through you and other people benefit from it, right? But Charge used to say, you have a pond and the water sits there and it's greedily hoarding the water. But the water becomes stagnant, has algae, and it stinks, and, it doesn't flow, and it just, which is better you can't drink out of a pond. You used to be able to drink out of rivers, right? But the water is, running and getting cleansed. It's got energy in it. It's, And so love is supposed to be like that. It's not something for you to retain. You don't love yourself. You let love flow through you. You give love to other people. And then if love is returned, it's returned. And then you experience it that way. In a cyclical way, right? But it's not something for you to cling on to or hold on to. It's something that you let flow. Anyways, let me go back to what I was doing before I read the comments. And I'll add some more stuff tomorrow. Okay, so let's get started here. So one more thing I wanted to say about what I was talking about in the voiceover last night. Today is Sunday, October 19th, 2025. And so I lost my train of thought. So I was saying yesterday about the voiceover videos. They just usually don't get as many views. When I do a narration with like a single photo, I put multiple photos in this one, but this one got so many hypes. And people are saying, like, so many people say they hyped it, and I don't know what else happened, but it got so many views, so it's weird that the comments. I'm probably not going to read more comments today. I'll do that tomorrow. But anyways, here's the beginning of this one. Breaking: Prince Andrew, the brother of King Charles III, will no longer use his royal titles. In a statement Friday, Andrew said, in discussion with the king and the intermediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. According to a royal source, the change will take place immediately and was done because Andrew's personal issues continue to be an unwelcome distraction from the work of the wider royal family. The royal family's fucked. Like, it's just a fucked up thing. You know, the idea that people are born to rule. And they have the audacity to say that when they get sworn in that they're God's representative on earth. That's what the I've still talked about that, but the orb and the scepter that they carry means that they're God's representative, that they're here to do God's work, which is just, totally obnoxious and, a desecration of the divine principles. But they're all fucking weird, and, they're this elitist, and the people around them, the firm, are even worse that keep the thing going. It should have already disappeared years ago. The idea of king should have disappeared, but of course we're so fucking primitive and worse off now, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, this clown, to top it off, as weird and fucked up as his family is, he ended up being pals with Jeffrey Epstein, getting money from Jeffrey Epstein, and sexually abusing Virginia Giuffre, who is now dead of a Jeffrey Epstein type suicide. And he had to pay her $12 million. He said he didn't do anything wrong. He just was paying her because he wanted it to stop or whatever, right? And remember, he did that interview where he was sweating like a pig and he came off looking like so creepy and weird. And he said he had some weird sweating condition. But they try to, this is how fucked up the royal family is. They burned Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's, the Duke and Duchess of Suckstick, Sucksticks, and they tormented her particularly as a distraction from this fucking guy, and they had to move out of the country, and they didn't want to be the scapegoats anymore, and so then they eventually people turned on him, which also probably means the Epstein thing is coming back around, and his name's going to be involved. And it's just going to be, more of the same bullshit that we saw before. Anyways, so that's that guy. So both of these things were on my iPhone from YouTube. YouTube, you can buy ads or buy, things that aren't videos. And I don't understand it because, anyways, this person, Charlie Kirk Team, it's a YouTube channel. Does this moment hit you as powerfully as it did me? They aren't rioting, are they? No, Charlie, they're singing. I knew it. And so what they're trying to do is disparage George Floyd and bring in this freaking unrealistic Jesus, right? Jesus got a halo. Charlie Kirk's wearing a suit. Did you ever see Charlie Kirk ever wear a suit? Right? But this is so fucking stupid. It's for really dumb motherfuckers. Like the stupidity of both sides, when it comes down to it. The people who are really engaged in the left-right paradigm. The stupidity that they engage in. But this is this is, some of the worst. So what they're trying to say is that the white people and the Republicans don't riot the way the black people and the liberals and George Floyd. The difference is that the white people are friends with the police. This wasn't a cop that shot Charlie Kirk. It was an individual liberal person. And no one was going to riot over this thing. Those riots were completely contrived. They were made up. It was escalated purposefully by the powers that be. And, the white people own the land and the fucking, the power and the stuff and the police and all that shit. So this wasn't against the establishment. People aren't blaming the establishment. They're blaming the liberals really, and now they're mostly blaming Israel. And the majority of people are blaming Israel. And so this is so fucking stupid. And just this picture of Jesus and this whole weird shit, you know. And if there's a heaven, this fucking shekel-taking motherfucker isn't in it. So I covered how my wife and I were driving through a small Republican town. And these dopey anti-Trump motherfuckers are, you know, no king stay. This is, he is one of a kind. And so Trump posted this video to do with No King's Day. It starts off with King Trump, right? So they're playing that stupid song. And it starts off with King Trump. And, you know, this, I mean, incapable of even fitting in the plane. And he's dropping big, wide, tons of shit on these anti-Trump things. So that's his response, right? Trump's response to this riot is to drop diarrhea on New York City liberals protesting No Kings and calling himself King Trump. You know, again, somebody else made the video, but Trump shared it. So this is his, you know, it's obscene. Like, just obscene how fucked he is. And it's obscene that these people are rioting or protesting when this is his attitude, right? His attitude is to say, yeah, I am the king. And if I had the opportunity and such a thing existed, I would fly on a plane and drop shit on you for daring to protest me, even though it's your constitutional right. You know, like, it's so fucked, right?
Millions of Americans took to the streets today with one simple message for President Trump. You are not a king.
Yeah, like, he does not give a shit. If you're claiming this is to somehow scare Trump or to move him in a certain direction, have you not watched the guy the last fucking 9 years? Like, what does he always do? When he gets attacked by anybody, he attacks back and he goes after people. Like, look at the people he's persecuting. James Comey and John Bolton and all these other people. He's actually going after them with, and all these other people he would have that got pardons from Joe Biden. Trump goes after people. He doesn't fucking ever consider that he might be doing something wrong. The guy just said he doesn't think he's going to heaven, right? You think that a bunch of disgruntled liberals walking around the streets of New York and other places is going to make a difference? You know, they said that Joe Biden said the same thing when he said the problem is MAGA Republicans, remember, or anti-vaxxers. And that meant that if you were one of those people in that group, they didn't give a shit what you say. I mean, they don't care what you say anyway, but still, they don't even care what their supporters say. And so these protests are just stupid. I mean, Trump's response was, if I could, I'd drop shit on you, if I had the ability.
Demonstrators in more than 2,500 cities and towns gathered for the No Kings events. And according to No Kings media, nearly 7 million people came out across the...
Yeah, that's nothing. It's 300-something million people. I mean, that's nothing. Like, that's, yeah, great. 7 million people seems like a lot of people across the country. But there's like 340 million people. And so it's just a small part of the fucking population. Even if it was 300 million people, it's only if there was going to be riots. And these things aren't riots. These people are all pussies. They're all bonus holes. Remember the bonus hole? There was some transgender guy said that women with a bonus hole, meaning real biological women. And he called that because they had an extra hole. Like, you know, they had, you know, the transgender women, in air quotes, had one hole. And the regular, you know, biological women had a bonus hole, which is a pussy. So I used to call people bonus holes as a code. But these are a bunch of bonus holes out there who, you know, they're not going to do anything. I mean, there's no real threat of rioting yet. There has to be something of substance. No food, no water, no electricity, no internet, you know, whatever it might be. Like, just a drastic, people are fucking pissed off and freaked out, and they take to the streets and then they go apeshit. And even that, the people who control the system aren't like even, you know, in America. They can leave anytime they want, so they don't care. You know, America just would go, you know, total revolution. That would be one thing. If random fucking angry, disgruntled Americans got hold of nuclear weapons, that would concern people in the world, right? But, you know, if America had some revolt, But I don't see that happening in any way that would. Anyways, there's that movie Civil War that's about this.
Country today for these protests. That's 2 million more than the last No Kings protests that were held back in June.
Wait, you had a No Kings protest in June, and you still now you have more fucking people. You had only 2 million then. You only have 7 million now. You think that's going to make a difference? Nobody gives a shit. You just inconvenience everybody else. Most of these people live in liberal cities. Most cities are liberal. And, the other ones that are outside of that, and it fucking doesn't make a fucking difference. Nobody gives a shit. You just piss everybody off. Have you ever talked to a Trumper? You ever seen Donald Trump talk about any sort of criticism? You ever see the guy ever be self-reflective? You ever see the guy question himself or admit to doing something fucking wrong? Have you seen anything like that, remotely anything like that amongst those people? And you guys ran a guy who had fucking Parkinson's disease. You elected a guy under shady circumstances that led to this whole fucking problem in the first fucking place, right?
Rallies come as Trump escalates what experts warn is his authoritarian reach targeting cities, people, and institutions that oppose him. I spoke with some of the protesters here in New York City earlier. Here's what they had to say.
We're still fighting for the promise of what this nation can be.
Yeah, you're not fighting for any of that shit. You're fucking oblivious to the fact we're completely fucked. We have so much debt. We have so much, issues that could never overcome. The moral breakdown. First out, people suck. That's the number one issue. It's always the number one issue. If your people suck, then your system collapses. If your people are weak and incompetent and under-functioning and unnatural, disconnected from God, families are broken down, people are immoral and weak and pathetic and getting worse with each generation, that's the number one sign. And then there's the debt-based economy and all that goes with it. There's no turning this fucking thing around. And you think you're fighting for something? What? You're coming down the streets with your fucking bunch of fucking bonus hole buddies walking around, no Trump, no Kings, no Trump, feeling like you're doing something. You fucking impotent, limp dick motherfuckers, right?
And they are fighting to turn back the hands of time to bring us to darker times.
No, they're not going to intimidate us.
You're not going to intimidate this guy. Look at this fucking guy. He's not going to intimidate us. You're going to intimidate us? You're not going to intimidate us.
Turn back the hands of time to bring us to darker times.
Darker
No, they're not
times.
going to intimidate us.
Not intimidate.
With tyrant talk.
With tyrant talk? Yeah, tyrant talk.
We are out here to stand up for this democracy.
The military is used for the defense of this country.
Is there anybody fucking under the age of 40 out here? This is so pathetic. These old fucking.
It is not used
I mean, these are all boomers. You're not going to intimidate us.
to control the citizenry. Trump is turning the military into his own Praetorian Guard.
Do not cower to the fascism and the threats that are coming from D.C.
Is there any heterosexuals out here?
That's what they want us to do, and they will only be successful in that if we remain silent.
And joining us live from the protest
This fucking guy.
in Los Angeles is Jacob Soboroff, MSNBC senior political and national correspondent. Also
Look at this fucking ghoul. This guy, George, whatever his name is.
us is George Conway,
George Conway.
attorney
Who's got more fucked up face, Kellyanne Conway or George Conway?
and president for the Society for the Rule of Law. George also attended one of the protests today. He's also on the board of a 501c4 that helped promote the events. Jacob, let's start with you. What's it like on the ground there?
Antonio, I was watching you all morning, and the vibes here feel like a lot of the vibes that I was watching. You walk around.
Yeah, look at the vibes. I mean, look at the fucking vibes. I can't believe the vibes here. The fucking vibes.
In all morning in New York City. We're in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. We're on Grand, right? Yeah, we're on Grand Street. This is the heart of the Civic Center. There are people as far as the eye can see.
As far as the eye can see, because, they're carrying signs and shit, so I can only see about 10 feet. But there's at least 10 feet of people in front of me.
In this direction, and then, Tony, let's swing around and just show them what's going on over here.
Boom, another 10 feet. And
Part of downtown Los Angeles. You can see the Walt Disney Concert Hall in the distance.
it's amazing.
out
Look at
here.
these guys.
And people
I
are
mean,
stoked.
would you be scared if you
This is
saw
a
this
jubilant,
rabble
peaceful,
of brutes coming towards you?
celebratory atmosphere.
Would you be fucking petrified if you saw these fucking these beasts coming forward? Like,
And everywhere you look, the idea that Antifa is on the streets. This lady's, look, she got a big smile on her face. Come over here.
are you
What's up? I'm
Antifa?
Jacob. Nice.
Are you Antifa?
I'm Allison.
Well, so are you Antifa? They say Antifa's on the streets.
I'm CTA. I'm a teacher. I teach kindergartners.
I think kindergartners, and I protest against Trump. I'm like 75 years old. I'm not Antifa.
We're here to make it right for students and families in our community.
So when you hear, people saying that people on these streets hate America, what's your response?
I see people being kind and loving each other and wanting a better life for everyone that's walking.
Wow, amazing, these protests. Fucking Jesus Christ. All right, so let's go to look more down here.
Look, here's another one. These inflatable suits, everywhere you go, people are partying. Where'd you get that suit?
I bought it, Amazon, but I don't really.
We're live on MSNBC. Tell me, what's the number one thing that brings you out here right now?
Anti-fascism.
There you go.
No
Anti-fascism. And this blue hair and I'm riding my blow up chicken.
in this country. It's not allowed. We didn't vote for it. We don't want it.
Ice out of LA. Ice out of LA, please.
Ice out of LA, please.
Nice to meet you guys. What are your names?
Amanda.
Brooke.
Amanda and Brooke. All right. Nice
Amanda
to
and Brooke are a couple fucking rocket scientists that are just looking like fucking ignorant bimbos with very bright colored hair.
meet you, Amanda and Brooke. Let me hand you that if that's okay. Can I hand you that? Wait, check this out, guys. It's loud. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me or if I'll be able to hear you, but I mean, it is a real party.
I mean, if you're going to do No Kings, it shouldn't be like a fun thing. This is like a fucking parade of fucking dumb fucks, right? Liberal dumb fucks having like a party. They're dressing up. They're fucking using fucking, they're tripping. They're fucking taking shrooms and fucking, ecstasy, and they're fucking through the fucking street. Let's get ice out of the street. And it's no fascism. We didn't vote for fascism.
Say hi. How's it going in there?
It's going well. How are you?
Have you guys done this before? I feel like I've seen you guys out and about.
Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, it's pathetic. Here's this guy.
Took a photograph of it, and then it was some kind of gotcha on conservative media, but it's just completely silly. I mean,
it's just completely silly. I mean, just pathetic. This is your response. Trump is destroying the country. He's being propped up to do that. The country can't be safe, so Trump can just get away with things other people can't. And because, he's backed by the powers that be, and he's a give a fuck. And he's just got his, myopic view. He's disconnected from reality and all these things. He's very much like a Joe Biden. And so they're running all this shit through him. He's owned by Israel. He's completely compromised. I mean, he's completely fucked. And we all, most people know this who's watching this. And so, I mean, this is your response? Your country's going to shit and this is all you can produce? This is your fucking grassroots movement? Bunch of fucking very effeminate boomers, right? Boomer dudes and weird bimbos and going out there and fucking having a party on fucking LA streets and inconveniencing everybody. All right, so this video came up. Max Blumenthal and this woman who's forget what her name, Bad Faith YouTube channel, are hammering the shit out of Matt Taibbi on Gaza, which is kind of silly because, Matt Taibbi is like, these guys are, semi-truther reporters, but mostly reporters that do a little bit of, better journalism. I would say this guy, Matt Taibbi, are very similar. But, being in this community, like he talks about, because he's Jewish, he talks about how there's people in the Jewish community who have been battling the Zionists for years. And he says the Zionists always win because they have more money and power. And I'm like, yeah, of course they do. Like, it's a fucking useless fight. You're protesting against, you're complaining against something that is obviously backed by God. Otherwise you have, the sense that it's not being stopped, right? And so it'll run its course because eventually, something that's an abomination can't survive in the divine universe. The grosser it is, the less godly it is, the quicker it dies. But, there's a time where there's power is given to the fucking worst people in the world. And they, take over control of stuff, and then their empires collapse. You can see all the dead empires, all the empires that have collapsed even in just the history we know, and there's more history out there. But they talk about this thing with Charlie Kirk briefly here.
Look, as an outsider, it did feel like Candace Owens' sort of response to Kirk's murder was in many ways the most like heartfelt, authentic.
Yes.
It felt like
it was a lot more heartfelt
friend.
than Erica Kirk. I mean, she actually, and certainly more than Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah. So.
All right. So I just want to cover this because it triggered a thought in me about the stuff. You know, people were all saying that Candace Owens seemed more genuine in her response. But, you know, she didn't have to grieve on the internet, right? Like anything that's done publicly is insincere. Anytime that you go and say things that are public, it's performative. Anytime you're out there and you're saying things on social media, I don't want to say it's all insincere, but it's more performative than, you know, you just having your own process, right? Like if you go out and just say how you feel about things and you're, you know, and you don't give a shit what people think about it. You're not thinking about clicks. You're not thinking about, you know, likes. You're not thinking about any of these things. You're just, you know, unfiltered as best as you can be. Like, because when you go and talk to other people, there's always filters. You know, people never reveal exactly what they're thinking. People are always hiding stuff. It's very hard to be a completely sincere person and say all the things. People expect you to lie. You think about your life, how much you're expected to lie. You're supposed to lie at work, I mean, constantly. You think about all the people in retail that have to greet people and they're miserable and some of them are stressed out. Their lives are going to shit and people are coming in there and they have to eat shit from the customers. They just want to say things. You know, there was I wonder if I think I have it somewhere here. Here, I found it on my phone. Let me take off my glasses. In Minneapolis, a 33-year-old Trader Joe's crew member was arrested Sunday after the police called a sample station showdown over free cheese cubes. Shoppers say Emily Clark was working the demo table when a man circled back for his fourth helping of cheddar bites. Where I lost my place here. Back around for his fourth helping of cheddar bites, Carter allegedly blocked the tray with her arm and declared one taste is curiosity for his theft. Witnesses report she then rang the store's tiny handbell, repeatedly shouting, "Sample abuse alert." As a man tried to grab another toothpick, the situation escalated. Then Carter lifted the entire tray over her head and dared anyone to take it like a duel. Officers say she eventually surrendered the cheese but was taken into custody after refusing to stop chanting, "Respect the sample," in the parking lot. And so, you know, people wish they could do things. Think about all the time you in your life fantasized about saying something to your boss or whatever it is, right? People, you know, saying things to people, oh, I wish I'd said this, and, you know, that you have to hold your tongue and whatever and smile and eat shit, you know. So, I mean, think about all the times in your life that you're just supposed to act differently and perform. I mean, that's the whole thing with Erica Kirk and all that shit, right? And so that people are having to be performative. And so, you know, most of the things you see in the media world, social media more than even regular media, is people pandering to a demographic. They know what people want to hear. And they're saying it because they want to keep their audience. They want to, you know, move forward. There's usually an agenda involved, right? Very few people are just out there speaking the truth because it fucking kills your channel. Anything you do where you're just going to tell the truth, because people don't want to hear the fucking truth. I mean, it's been proven over and over again. People don't want to hear the fucking truth. They want to be lied to. They want to be performed. They want to be performed for. You know, like the stuff with Britney Spears and all that shit. You know, she still had fans. Michael Jackson. You know, I was talking about Michael Jackson went on a fucking interview and defended the fact that he was sleeping with little boys. You know, they were in the same bed sleeping. And it's creepy as fuck. The guy was incredibly weird. Obviously, he was abused as a kid. And people are still defending the guy when there's so much evidence that he was sexually abusing little boys. No, it's some kind of conspiracy. And I even got some comments from people, no, you have to look into it more. Why? Because you fucking have some weird association with Michael Jackson? The guy was always fucking weird, even as a kid. But he got weirder as he got older. And it wasn't because he was he was being persecuted. He wasn't a victim. I mean, he was as a kid and whatever that shit is, but he turned into a fucking full-out blown creep. But there are people who expect Erica Kirk to do exactly what she did. The people who go to beauty contests, the people who like, Savannah, whatever her name is, I covered it in the last show. With the one with the gay dad or whatever it was, Guthrie. What is Savannah Chrisley. Her convicted felon parents, and they'll just rearrange reality. No, they're innocent because they're like me. I know they're my kind of people, and even if they're not innocent, they should be able to get away with it because they should have those kind of privileges, and that's just how everyone fucking is about them and their own group and their own bullshit beliefs and their own superficial shit. And if you tell people they're wrong, they fucking react and they get hostile and they whine and they say, "Oh, I'm subscribing," because you've told them shit that they don't want to fucking hear. And I do that on a regular basis here because I don't give a fuck and whatever. I don't work for them or you or any of these other people. Whatever I'm doing here is either for myself or mostly for my association with the divinity within me, and I have to follow orders. And I could be nicer about it, whatever. It doesn't matter. Fucking really doesn't matter because it just people don't want to hear this fucking truth. People want to hear the truth that's about other fucking people. They want to hear the truth about how other people suck, right? And so, that's what our society is failing from because people don't want to take any personal accountability about self-improvement and becoming a better person. So, yeah, Erica Kirk's thing is very performative, and maybe Candace Owen was legitimately sad about Charlie Kirk, and maybe he's really dead, and maybe, whatever. But you don't hear her calling Trump out on his bullshit assassination attempt. Are these any motherfuckers, right? They just don't do it. Anyways, there's one more clip here. I'm not going to show you the clip. In the interview, he gives some evidence to show that Elon Musk is compromised by Israel, which, of course he is. So let's move on to this wonderful person here.
Being a movie lover, I guess I've always wanted to believe that the Academy somehow represented what films at best can celebrate. Contacted them with an offer from President Zelensky shortly after the invasion to speak to everyone watching their award show that year. He wasn't going to be talking about anything other than as exactly someone who embodied that's a filmmaker.
You mean he's an actor? So he was going to be talking about his fucking shitty movies and weird dances that he did. And, why should he be celebrated as a filmmaker? Whatever reason they put him in as the Ukrainian leader. He was an anti-war moderate, and he got worked by the Republican right-wing people. Whatever happened, threatened him, whatever. Whatever happened there with Joe Biden, whatever money laundering bullshit they were doing. It's, this guy's a piece of shit. Both these guys. Remember, this guy was going to smelt his Oscar. He was going to melt it. He wanted this guy to be celebrated as a filmmaker. Well, why the fuck is he there? What movies is the Academy Award the Academy has ever seen and validated as quality work, right?
And he wanted to thank everyone for their support and talk about the big medicine that film can be and the value of film. The idea that they traded that for a bitch slap from Will Smith to Chris Rock serves them right.
It serves them right. It serves them right. They could have put Zelensky's up there instead of that fucking epic bitch slap.
Along with, their history with the blacklist and the way that they cowered at the time and never made kind of apologies that should have been made. And their sort
this guy's he's a mile of bad road. Look at this motherfucker. This is Spicoli. But, is he trying to say that Hollywood has some fucking morality and integrity? It has some kind of code of conduct? Hollywood is one of the greasiest fucking... The only worst thing is the modeling industry. Of all this stuff, and I covered Hollywood for quite a bit. And people said, why don't you cover real shit like politics? And I'm like, the influence of people through Hollywood is people are more influenced by Hollywood than anything else. And that's still kind of the case, but... the symbolism and we're starting to real apocalyptic shit now. There's been some kind of a new in the last couple of years where it's getting into real shit, but the grooming of people, the grooming stage was done by Hollywood. The grooming for what's happening now was done by Hollywood. Now there's social media and other things, and there's so many different things going on. And people are sort of rebelling against all the, when Hollywood started to make these bullshit feminist films and all this woke shit, and they did it in a really contrived, over a very heavy-handed way, and it started wrecking movies and TV shows, and they started taking films that would have starred men as a male protagonist in some kind of action film, and instead of a man, they put a woman in there, and it would be pretty much the same film, except there would be this feminist bullshit they would put out throughout that was inappropriate for the film and just wrecking the whole genre. I started watching the season 2 of Peacemaker, which is, there's that guy, James Gunn, and he's a weird fuck. Remember, he got caught saying weird shit and doing weird shit. He makes pretty good movies. That new Superman movie was one of the better DC movies for Superman. Not that I'm recommending it, but it was better, for that kind of movie. But, it's got all this weird woke shit in it. Like the beginning of the Peacemaker thing, John Cena, his character, who's the Peacemaker, says that, that sucking dick for him is a talent, not a criticism. So he comes out as bi. They have some kind of orgy, and he's kissed on the cheek by a man and a woman. So I always thought John Cena was gay. But it's all about drama. He's, remembering he's having memories of killing his older brother. And it's all drama bullshit. I'm like, it's supposed to be a fucking superhero show. And that other show, the Thunderbolts, or the fucking whatever it was called, that most recent one for the Marvel, it's like they're like a sad sack Avengers, and that's filled with all that same dramatic bullshit. It's one of the better, more recent Marvel movies. It's got some better stuff, but the majority of it's just depressing, self-examination, psychological drama. These people are all fucking broken and fucked up and insecure and going through their bullshit, and then there's a couple action scenes. They just just fucking nut up and grab your fucking cape and go out there and fight bad guys. It's a superhero movie. But it's all this kind of shit. It's all this whiny. And what they want to show you is that even superheroes are little fucking insecure little bitches with problems who can't fucking, function. And they're everyone. I mean, it's just, you just got to go out there. You got to play in pain, right? I'm not saying that you go into denial about things that are going on. I mean, if things are really being brought to you by God, and there are crises of change, and you have to change. It's not about being a victim. It's not about, woe is me and the system's rigged against me. It's about going out and changing and becoming a better person. And these miseries are catalysts for those things, right? But it's just become a fucking pussification, bonus hole. It's the bonus hole fucking, society.
Sort of political correctness drives me out of my effing tree. It's just so quota-based every year. It glares and bores me. Being a movie lover.
Yeah, but Zelensky was a piece of shit. You're a fucking shill for the CFR. I mean, this is, this is end of time shit here. Okay, so Trump admitted to something here. A couple things. I didn't get to the other thing. I'll get to that tomorrow, I think. But here, this one first.
Why did you authorize the CIA to go into Venezuela? And is there more information you can share about these strikes on the alleged...
Well, I can't do
drug busts in
that,
the
but
Caribbean?
I authorized for two reasons, really. Number one, they have emptied their prisons into the United States of America. They came in through the... they came in through the border. They came in because we had an open border policy. And as soon as I heard that, I said, a lot of these countries, they're not the only country, but they're the worst abuser. And they've entered they've allowed thousands and thousands of prisoners, mental institutions.
We don't share a border with Venezuela. Venezuela is here. And there is Panama, of course, the Panama Canal, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and then Mexico. And so they have to get from here, they have to go across Colombia and then in through these various places or come through the sea. So to say they emptied their fucking prisons or their mental institutions into America is not correct, right? I mean, they could kick them out of their country and they'd be in Colombia. They'd have to work their way up all the way to here through Mexico. So, I don't know what's going on with Venezuela, but like that's not true. Like that's physically impossible. They would have to airlift these people and drop them at the Mexican border. Like they'd have to fly them in, land in somewhere in the desert here, right by the border, and then say, "Here, go across." Like that's not what they didn't do that, right? Whatever Venezuelans are getting there, they have a pathway through here, either through boat or whatever it is, right? And why wouldn't they go through here and then come in through Louisiana or some of these other places? But either way, he's just dropping missiles on boats and claiming it's drug cartel, and we don't know if that's true or not. Like what he's doing is fucked. Like it's really fucked.
Institution, people from mental institutions, insane asylums, emptied out into the United States.
Like that's physically impossible. Do you think they got a bunch of sane people and they just let them go? They like say, "Hey, here, take some fucking floaties, and we're dropping you in the fucking ocean, and swim your way to America." Like how do you think they emptied their mental institutions into America? Like it's not physical. It defies the laws of physics. They'd have to airlift them and drive them through these various countries. Each one of these countries have borders and fucking military, and I mean they're all disorganized, but still, right? They just didn't empty these fucking people into the thing. They might have kicked them out of their country, but they didn't say, "Hey, go to America." They'll let you in there. It's like they want crazy people. They want criminals.
Bringing them back. But that's a really bad, and they did it at a level that probably not many countries have done it, but not like Venezuela. They were down and dirty. And the other thing are drugs. We have a lot of drugs coming in from Venezuela, and a lot of the Venezuelan drugs come in.
Who knows why he's actually bombing? I'm sure people do know. I'm sure some of you guys do, or at least some of the theories. I don't know. I don't cover this thing, but he's admitting to just dropping fucking missiles on these motherfuckers for no reason. I mean that's what he's claiming here, right? You guys are probably wondering why I didn't cover this earlier.
Kidnapping though?
Boom, there he goes. There goes Mitch. There goes Mitch the turtle. Turtle. That turtle-looking motherfucker. Hey! That's the best. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this one up here. But this guy was, in charge of the Senate for a very long time. Remember, he glitched out a few times. Like he should be retired. As should Trump. These guys they're too old to be doing this kind of work. You stop functioning, and it's not good for you. You should be working on your transition into the post, your afterlife. Like you need to prepare and work at it. You have to start becoming more spiritual, and you can advise people, but you're done working. You're done with stress. Like there's just. The older you get, the harder it is to deal with stress, and the less you care about this bullshit either. You don't. It's for younger people. This is something that's a younger people think. But they don't want to give up their whatever it is, and they die in office, and they're all gross and fucked up, and it's fucking weird, and just weird power dynamics. I mean, it's just fucked. I mean, this is why as the comment that I read last night, where the person was saying, this doom and gloom. Look at what the fucking world is. I mean, be honest about where we are as a people. Because as fucked as Trump is and as fucked as all this is, the Democrats' response was to dress up in furry, weird fucking outfits and have a party in these various cities. That's what I saw, these happy people. No kings. They were all smiling and happy, and inconvenience people walking across the street so you couldn't go where you're going, blocking you, just, trying to anger the fucking, the majority of Republicans that lived in my town and these things. It's just obnoxious, right? I mean, people absolutely suck. Like I covered this in my last video. My wife and I were driving through this small town. It's a Republican place. And they had these people, and I just, they wouldn't let us take a right turn. And I just started fucking yelling at these motherfuckers because it's like, it's pointless. You're selfish, and you want to inflict your bullshit on everybody else. And be happy and smile and party about it. You're not fucking concerned. You're not worried about fucking, you wouldn't be there in this like it's a party. It's not like we're really freaked out, It's just a fucking mess. And so this is what I'm talking about. Like, let's look around. You go to fucking Walmart, look around, see what's happening. This is a civilization that should have collapsed years ago. We're like a weekend at Bernie's fucking civilization, where it's being propped up like fucking a dead person, like a dead fucking old dude. All right, anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Baramato definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.